Welcome back to another episode of Insights with Vinny Mac. My name is Vince, aka Vinny Mac. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode, another insight. I really appreciate having you here. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much for that. For those of you that haven't yet, please by all means do subscribe to the channel, like the content, drop me your feedback. I would love to hear from you. I would love to engage with you. Not only does it help put my content out there to a wider audience, but it also helps me understand what type of content I need to be delivering to you in order to help you grow from where you are to where you are capable of being. You see, on this channel I use insights from both a godly perspective as well as from a coaching perspective, bringing the two together to give you the best of both worlds. So like I said, I hope that you've been getting value from these particular insights. I know a lot of people have, and a lot of people have been applying what I've been sharing on these insights. So thank you for your feedback as well. Today we're looking at a very important factor or very important principle that we really need to get down in our lives. See, most of us, when we go through difficult times, we get so absorbed and wrapped into that challenge that we're currently facing that we cannot rip ourselves away from actually seeing the solutions that do exist out there for us. Now, I was actually, funny enough, this particular insight came to me when I was doing my children's ministry Bible lesson this weekend, where we spoke about gratitude. And I was using an object lesson to describe to them how sometimes we lose our focus. We focus on things that are not really that important, and we forget to see the bigger picture. I want you to look at this particular picture, if I can call it that, for just a moment, and then we're going to dive into that and just see what your takeaway, what your feedback is on that, and how it can help you shift your perspective and get an understanding to how you can overcome problems and challenges in your life. I'll also be sharing with you a personal testimony. So stay tuned for that so that you can get a better understanding of how this principle actually applies to your life. So check out this particular picture and then we'll jump right into the insight. Okay, so looking at the page, what exactly did you see? And I promise you that's not a trick question. Basically, whatever you saw, that's what you saw. Right? So if you're anything like me, I guess most of you are watching the video right now are exactly like me, and you've seen exactly what I saw on the page. That is the black dot. And you see, that is where we all are losing the plot completely. Because if you had to look at the page carefully, you would have seen that there is this massive white page. And yes, there's a small dot on the white page, but there's a massive white page. That is what we're missing. You see, it's our perspective, our view. And this is what I was sharing with my children as well in the ministry yesterday. You see, we were speaking about gratitude. We do not live lives of gratitude because we are so focused on the imperfections that are standing between us and our breakthroughs. We do not see this big realm of possibilities that exist. We are so focused on that tiny imperfection. And that filters through to so many different areas of our lives on a day-to-day basis. I mean, whenever something goes wrong in your life, what do? You magnify it, you focus on it, and it becomes so big and so improbable that it consumes your thinking. And whatever the thoughts, whatever you're pondering on consistently, it becomes your reality. You start manifesting it into your life. For me, on a personal note, I also had to go through a difficulty, especially this weekend. My car's battery gave in without a warning on Sunday morning. So for me, that was a major stumbling block, a major challenge. And I was extremely frustrated and agitated because I had my daughters with me. We were at church, and I just couldn't get my car started. I needed the help to get for them to push the start in order for me to kickstart the motor up. So that was one, it's embarrassing because my daughters have to push the car, and two, it's just embarrassing, it's just frustrating, I have to be honest. Yeah. But this is what happened after my lesson. During the lesson, I was teaching the kids about focusing on the dot. And after the lesson, what was I doing? Exactly that, I was focusing on the dot. I wasn't loving what I was preaching to the kids. And I caught myself in that, and I said, you know what, you are completely wrong right now. You cannot be focusing on the dot. Yes, this is a major inconvenience. It is very frustrating, especially now that your daughters have to push the car in public. But focus on the solution and start finding the solutions within yourself. We managed to get home, and we managed to get home fine. And me and my dad went through a ritual of troubleshooting the car, trying to figure out if it was actually the battery, if it was anything else that could have caused the problem, because there was no indication that the battery was going to give in or bomb out on me at all. And after several troubleshooting and finding that the oil levels were low and looking at several other factors on the car as well, we figured out that it was indeed the battery that was the problem. So this created a new dilemma for me, a new challenge for me, because now I needed to get a new battery for the car, and my finances are really not there in order for me to get a new battery. Also, the other part is I do have a subcontracting job that I do where I provide a courier service to one of the pharmacies, local pharmacies. And in order for me to do that, I need my car in order to do the deliveries. So I started focusing on all these different problems and challenges. I need a new battery, I don't have the money. I need to provide service to the pharmacy for the couriers, and I can't do that without my transport. So you see, this is how we snowball situations in our minds and we start blowing it out of proportion. But what helped me a lot was a conversation that I had with one of my friends and clients. And just our conversation helped put that perspective back in place for me again as well. And I want to share with you the principles that came out of that conversation, because these are the principles that I used as well to help me get past this particular obstacle. And I'll tell you exactly how that problem managed to sort itself out as well. So for now, let me just share with you what I shared with her in terms of the conversation, in terms of how we handle these challenges. Okay, so when we're facing these challenges in our lives, we have the choice as to how we handle these challenges. These challenges do not dictate terms to us, we dictate terms to the challenge. Remember, God's word says that the same power that resurrected Jesus from the dead is the same power that exists within each and every single one of us. So we do have the power to override these circumstances in our lives. We just lack the belief and the understanding that we can actually do that. Now, when I was having my conversation with my friend who was also doubling as my client, I told her that, when you're facing a challenge, when you're facing a battle, apply these three, I wouldn't call them principles, but, let's call them principles for now because I can't find another word to say. I said, when David went into battle versus Goliath, the entire Israelite army were there, and they were all focused on this tiny little dot called Goliath. They couldn't see past Goliath. David, however, had a different perspective. He was focused on what was up for grabs to the guy that actually beats Goliath. He wasn't thinking about the dot, he was thinking about the solutions, he was thinking about the opportunities that was presenting itself. And this is what we need to do in times of trials and in times of challenges. We need to start focusing on the opportunities and the solutions that present themselves in the midst of these difficulties. Now, what I loved about David when he went into battle with Goliath was the war cry that he made. He said, "The battle is not mine, it is the Lord's, and the Lord shall deliver you to me this day." See, that is exactly what I did in terms of my situation. I looked at the battery, I looked at the courier service that I need to supply, and I said, the battle is not mine, it's the Lord's, and the Lord shall deliver. So that's the first thing. I spoke the word over the situation. And that is what you need to do in terms of your trials and in terms of your challenges. Speak the word over the situation, and don't just speak any word. Speak words of faith, words of belief that really resonates with you on a deep aspect. That particular Bible verse resonated with me on a deep level, so that is why I was able to declare it into my situation. Second principle that the Bible teaches us, getting into your promised land. Before Joshua and the Israelites stepped into the promised land, before Jehoshaphat, when he got into the battle with these three different armies that were coming against him, what was God's instruction to them? To both these instances, it was very simple. Get into praise and worship. Praise and worship elevates you. It shifts your thinking from where you are to where you are capable of being. It distracts the demons on such a level that they don't know what is coming their way. So get into praise and worship, celebrate, take your mind off the battle, off the challenges completely. Jehoshaphat was told to put the worshippers in front of the army. And when the worshippers went forth and blew their trumpets and started making a noise, the armies coming against Jehoshaphat got confused and they started killing each other. And him and his army was spared completely. They didn't have to do a thing. Same thing with Joshua and the chosen generation of Israel. To get into the promised land, not only did they march around the problem 7 times, but on the 7th day they blew the trumpets loud. So without them lifting a finger, the battle was already won. Why? Because they understood the power of being in praise and worship. They understood the power of taking that mind shift off the problem and focusing it on to a higher power, a higher solution. That is the second thing that you do in the midst of your battles, in the midst of your challenges. The third one that it comes down to is, like I said, David said to Goliath, the battle is not mine, it's the Lord's. Shift your belief, shift what you are thinking. Stop making that dot so massive in your life that you cannot see past the dot. Focus on the big white page. The battle is not yours, it's the Lord's, and the Lord shall provide you a victory. So that is what I did in terms of my situation. Let me just share with you exactly how that played out for me. Okay, so come Monday morning, I already pre-arranged with my brother to come and pick me up so that we could go to the nearest battery center and just see if they could recharge the battery for me, which would cost a fraction of what a brand new battery would cost. Sadly, when we got there and they tested the battery, they discovered that one of the cells in the battery was dead, which meant that they couldn't recharge the battery at all. I had to do a battery replacement. Like I said, I didn't have the funds for the battery, and the recharge would have cost a fraction of what it would have cost for a brand new battery. But this is where the power of God really steps in, when you stop focusing on the dot and you start focusing on the solutions. Without me having to say a word, without me having to ask, without me even thinking about it, my brother stepped up and he paid for the battery out of his own free will, out of his own free intuition. And you see, that comes back to God and the principles that He works in our favor when we learn to focus and to trust on Him completely, and not focus on the challenge, not focus on the dot. And I want to encourage you with that particular testimony as well, because I know how hard it is when you are in the midst of a trial. I mean, everyone that saw my face on Sunday could see that something seriously was bothering me, and that was this particular aspect of the battery with the car, because of all the factors that was associated with my car running. And because my car was not running properly, it affected me in a big way. It affected my mindset, it affected my demeanor and every aspect of me. And I did exactly what I was teaching the kids not to do. I was focusing on the dot. But after the reflecting back on that lesson and having the conversation with my friend as well, I was able to move my focus, and I was starting to see solutions. Even though I didn't know how the solution was going to present itself, I knew that there were solutions, and I held on to that belief. I kept saying to myself, the battle is not mine, it's the Lord's. And I stayed in an attitude of gratitude. I stayed in a mindset of praise and worship. I stayed in a mindset of, in a belief that I don't have to lift a finger, that God has already provided the solution. And God doesn't always work that quickly in terms of a challenge, in terms of a problem. We need to look only in the Bible and see Daniel's situation, where he had to pray for 21 days before a breakthrough actually happened. But like the angel said to Daniel on the day that he arrived, from the time you opened your mouth, I was ready on my way to you. That is what I want to encourage you with today. Doesn't matter how long you're going through the trial. Doesn't matter how hard it is going through that trial. Stop focusing on the dot. Start focusing on the solutions. Because when you focus on the solution, you will find the solution. I hope that you got value from this particular insight. I hope that you enjoyed it. I really look forward to hearing your feedback. So please, by all means, do subscribe to the channel, like the content, and then of course drop me your feedback. Like I said, I would love to hear from you. Okay, like I said, I hope you got value from this. I'll see you on the next insight. For now, this is Bunny Max saying change your thinking, change your world.